Live from Kent, this is The Late Late Show with Toby Payne-Cook and Ed Finch. And you are listening live.
You are listening live. Ed is in Devon and I am in Kent, and we are Toby and Ed. And it is Wednesday, it is 9 o'clock, and it is time for the Late Late Show. Pride, speak with pride. Are you proud? Are you too proud?
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live. Tune in live at ttradio.org or join in the conversation by downloading the Podbean app and following Teachers Talk Radio. Hashtag TT Radio.
Hashtag TT Radio, Ed. Hashtag TT Radio.
Hashtag. Does anybody hashtag TT Radio? I bet they do. I hope they'll start right now. I'm going to go to my Twitter and I'm going to see all of our listeners tweeting away with the hashtag TT Radio. Look, there comes the first one. Don't know who that is. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm still standing. I'm still here.
I'm still standing. Did you watch Elton at Glastonbury?
I didn't watch Elton at Glastonbury. No, I spent my entire weekend travelling to Edinburgh and back for a family wedding. And as a result, I'm the one person in Britain who didn't watch any Glastonbury at all, not 1 millisecond.
Oh, I don't think you're the one person in Britain. I think there's an awful lot of people who didn't watch it. But most people ever, I think 7-point-something million people watched Elton John's performance on television, and certainly it was the largest filled packed pyramid arena I have ever seen as well. Much was spoken about that. Anyway, there we go. Good evening. It's only Lucy in the house. There were two people who joined us, but they've gone. They've seen and heard our voices.
They clicked on the wrong link, didn't they?
They clicked on the wrong link.
Oh, we don't want this.
Yeah,
they were expecting. What were they expecting?
I've got a sense it might just be you, me, and Lucy tonight, Ed. I think, and Maxim may join us. He's pretty loyal. He's pretty dedicated.
He normally pops in, doesn't he? It's nice to see when he pops in, but you can't guarantee it. They are fools to leave this. Says
Lucy, we love you. We love you, Lucy.
We truly do. We should stop calling it a radio show. We just go around Lucy's house and have a chat. Would that not be more conducive to building?
Except you say that, but I just had a little sneaky pick logging into the mission control, Teachers Talk control, command center this evening just before the show, and I had a little look to see how many downloads our show from last week had, and I was surprised to find out that 205 people, whether the 205 people have listened to it, who are these people? That's what I want to know, because
just think that if you click on the link and listen for about 5 seconds and click off again, does that count as a listen? That's my question.
Yeah, I reckon though, Ed. I reckon 195 of those 205 people are secret members of the Ed Finch Appreciation Society. I don't think I've got much to do with this. I think it's they're worshipping at the church of Ed's beard.
Well, I mean, it's a lovely thought that there's people out there who have an interest in what I have to say, but I don't think it is that. Because I think they're coming through the Podbean app, and I don't think that happens. I think I'm not religiously tweeting the link to it and saying, "Please, everybody, listen to this."
No, I think the listen backs don't have to go through Podbean. The listen backs only need to go to ttradio.org, or even I wonder, you can listen via Spotify. So you can search on Spotify. Does that count as a? Now. I want to know. Question for Tom Rogers: when you listen to this show, if you listen to the show, if people listen via Spotify, afterwards listen back, does that count towards a listening figure?
What's that called on Spotify? I'm looking for it now. This is just useless because
you can search. This show won't be on there yet. It's not live, and it's not. But sometime overnight, it will end up on. So touch Teachers Talk Radio on Spotify. They're all there.
Anti-racism, behaviour management, trauma-informed practice. Late Show with John B. Addressing the cultural capital chasm in language teaching. The Late Show with Darren Lester from Pearson Schools. Making the Move. The Monday Morning Break with Marie. Who knew there was all this wonderful stuff?
Well,
Tom Rogers,
the 4 or 5 people who run Teachers Talk Radio know, and no, it's a good thing, but I don't know whether I have time in my life for it.
Roth, the late show with Ed Finch and Toby PC. We discussed our third of the 7 deadly sins, Roth, this week, inside the classroom, within ourselves, and across the profession as well. We spent a lot of time speaking about music. Do you write that bit? Do you write a little...
I write that bit. Yeah, I write that bit.
Wow, I didn't know you had all that sort of extra work to do.
I have huge responsibility. I've got a TLR point for it, Ed.
Now you made me cough. Yeah, well, it's a jolly good thing. Some passages in the life of one of HM Inspector of Schools Saturday Breakfast Show with Darren Lester. Good heavens.
When we're not doing this, and I don't when we're not doing this from late July onwards, well, from September onwards. Let's talk in academic academic year rather than the when we're not doing it in September. Are we going to speak to each other for an hour a week, Ed?
No, we won't. We won't get round to it. We'll send occasional WhatsApps to each other saying how is it going and things.
Yes, yeah.
But, no, we won't religiously set a time apart, an hour every week to opine, will we?
Just like I let a lot of my colleagues know, my soon-to-be ex-former colleagues know last Friday at my leaving party, which I hosted, I want to let you know, Ed, that our friendship, from my perspective, is deeper than this radio show. So even though the radio show may dissipate and disappear, and who knows, we might come back and do a special at Christmas or something, maybe, because that'd be quite fun, I think.
If they'll have us.
If they'll have us, I think that could be quite fun.
Tom won't have us. We'll pop across Teacher Hug and see if they want a guest appearance.
And
we can on that fire.
But it is. Well, I think we sort of became friends before the Teachers Talk Radio, but the radio has cemented our friendship, hasn't it?
Anyway, Douglas is very keen to repeat the New Year pub crawl. He thought that was a fine night out, and he's hoping to repeat it. So I said, well, I would mention it, but couldn't guarantee.
I'm up for Crediton. Spending every New Year's Eve of the rest of my life in Crediton.
Well, that's great. I'll tell you what, we could do a little open invitation to our listener.
Yeah,
couldn't we? I was going to extend that hand of kindness right now. If you're listening to this, you could be walking the dog. You could be, I don't know, going for a jog. Whatever it is people do when they listen to the show. If they've got bugger all to do on New Year's Eve, pile on down to Crediton and join Toby and me for what must be the finest pub crawl available in Crediton.
Yeah, I'm totally up for that, and I would also say that
what's the name of that pub that we won't go in? No, we won't risk.
Is it called the Plymouth Arms? If they haven't got anywhere to stay, they could book a room there.
Oh, yes. Oh, mate. Anyway, what are you proud of this week?
So, I know what am I proud of this week? Well, I'm proud of. I've had a busy day today. I have been to busy day off today. I've been up to my new school this morning because when I had new staff induction day 2 weeks ago now, 2 weeks tomorrow. But I didn't get to. I've got my timetable now, so I know what I'm teaching. Actually, and I'm really pleased about this. I'm teaching more maths than science. So I'm mainly teaching in the what's called the first and second forms at the senior school, which is year 7 and 8. And I've got 6 lessons of science a week, so a class in the year 7, a class in year 8, and then I've got 10 lessons of maths. So that's 4 hours in the first form, 4 hours in the second form, or year 7 and 8, and then I'm sharing a maths class in year 9, so 2 lessons a week with co-teaching, so someone else do the other 2 lessons a week, and then I'm doing a bit of ICT, which was a bit daunting to find that out. Only one lesson a week with year 8 and year 9, and then I'm doing something. I don't know what it is, whether it's a BTEC or something they do in the 5th form in year 11. You can get if you get over 75% in all modules, you get the equivalent of a grade 6 If you don't get over 75%, you get nothing. It's that sort of thing, it's like 6 or bust. And that's just a box tick sort of ICT skills. So I'm doing a bit of that. I'm doing a bit of project mentoring or project supervising, EPQ project supervising in the sixth form, doing a bit of that, and doing a bit of running an HPQ activity for some year 9, some sort of scholarly academic year 9s. And HPQ is a Key Stage 4 equivalent of the EPQ, the Extended Project Qualification. So it's typically a piece of research in something you're interested in. It's an extended essay, really, but it's rather like a PGCE. It's the process of learning, not the product of learning, that's important. So your log, your source log, and your reflections on how you go about it, and is more important than the end product. The end product is important, but the end product doesn't have to be an essay. It can be, you can design something in DT. It has to be extracurricular, so it can't be it can't be an essay or a model that you could make in your actual
stand-up comedy club again. That'd be great.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's good. So it's really varied, but it means I have got lots of, I have a line manager, but it means I've got lots of heads of departments sort of responsible for my my teaching. So that's a bit. So I was meeting lots of them today, and it was really nice. So that was really nice, and I've got a nice classroom, so that's good. Not a science lab,
You've got your own classroom that you teach in.
I've got my own classroom.
Different subjects.
I've got my own classroom in the maths block, which I will teach maths, junior science in, ICT in, have my tutor group in, and I will use the science labs when I need to use the science labs for practical stuff. But the default, that is my default. Yeah, and no one else teaches in there. It's brilliant.
Wowzers.
Absolutely brilliant.
It does sound great. I think you've fallen on your feet there. I think it's going to be very hard work. I hope you're ready for some
very
hard work.
Yes, it is. I'm ready for hard work. Well, I will be ready for hard work by August the 29th, which is my first inset day. But I'm not ready for hard work yet.
How much longer have you got where you are?
I have until the end of next week. The joy of prize giving / speech day on Saturday, the 8th of July.
Happy days.
Yeah. So I had a lovely party. I had a lovely. I hosted a leaving party at my house. I was stupidly generous. I went to excessive effort. Everyone who came, and there's about 25 people came. Some who no longer teach there, who came back and stayed. And that was lovely. Nice. And I did a little award for everybody. So like a sort of a pastiche or of our prize giving. So some people got values awards, some people got niche weird subject awards, not conventional ones, and some people just got lifetime achievement awards or bespoke awards, like it was that was nice. So I did a little speech and just thanked everybody by giving them a certificate stuck onto a piece of paper, which meant I'm a little bit behind with my report writing. I've only got 12 year 7s left to do, which I'm supposed to complete by lunchtime tomorrow. So that should be okay. Should be okay.
Should be. Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's beautiful. I haven't, no, I haven't even got my eyes on a prize yet. I've got 3 more full weeks, and I've got so much to do. Like all the people listening out there, I've got 150 reports that I need to proofread and my
word.
Got to write my pupil premium grant report and put that on the website. Got to write my this and my that and the other. I cannot see the end. 17 days I've got.
Can you share anything more about you?
Can I share anything about my tattoos? About
no, I'm being coded because you might not want to.
I don't think the people of the radio know this news yet, but the people of Chagford do. So as of the end of this term, I shall not be being a head teacher anymore, and I shall be exploring exciting new avenues.
And are there irons in the fire, Ed? Are there irons in the fire?
Say again?
Are there irons in the fire?
Oh, there's a number of irons in the fire of various degrees of heat. Some of them look like they're going to come out and make a beautiful horseshoe. Some will probably just sit in the fire and not get hot enough. But a little bit worried about making enough money to feed the child in September. But But no, the most exciting bit is I'm going into the world of celebranting, which I'm
You
pretty
are doing
excited
that. That is
about.
happening.
Yeah, it's happening. Yeah, if you want to get married or buried in the near future, please do think of me. I'll be happy to do either of those, both possibly. I mean, depends how quick I work, but yeah, I shall be getting people married and doing funerals, and I think that's gonna
Is
be
that,
quite satisfying. I'm looking
yeah,
forward to that.
is that
Lots of
going to
other
be
things
full
as well.
time? Is that sort of full time or not really?
Yeah, no, I don't. People can't make it full time. I mean, I've heard of a celebrant who was doing 10 funerals a week, but A, I can't believe they were doing a good job of it, and B, I think it would kill you really. If you think about, you've got to put some emotional weight into it. You've
Mm,
got to meet the family, really encounter them, really listen very carefully, really think, right, what is it that they need? Work with them to craft a ritual or a ceremony that's going to really speak to what they need to hear. I had this when my wife died in 2018. A brilliant bloke called Ian came and helped me, and I wasn't in a fit state to think about it, but he was, and he helped me through this first stages of the grieving process of having lost someone, and sort of turned that into a story. That's sort of what the job is. You've got these big bunch of messy feelings that you can't really deal with, and you talk your heart out to some poor chap for a couple of hours.
mm.
He goes away and turns it into something which you can comprehend or you can start to. I still think about some of the things that Ian said. I still think about them. This five. What is it? Is it 5 years later? Yeah. So it's an important job and it's a good job, but it
It is
does
a
take a
really
bit of.
important job, and it's a lovely job. And I think if there were, I don't know many. I don't think I know any celebrants, but I will know one with
Mm,
you in you. And I think what tends to what I in my narrow world, um, people tend to become pseudo religious upon death or upon marriage, and a lot of
hmm
people don't they? And so, uh,
They do, yeah,
um,
because they don't know there's an option. They don't
and
know there's an option. What
if
what what does a marriage have to have? Well, here's the thing: when you get married, in the back garden of the hotel or at this special historic place or whatever, that's not the legal bit. Just as when you have a funeral, that's not the same as registering the death. Registering the death, you go to an office in some municipal building somewhere, and it's rather a boring process. Sign a bit of paper and all that, and
yeah,
that's the legal thing that has to happen. And if you want to, you can also have a funeral where you make a ritual out of it and they do something that's meaningful to you. Weddings, if you get married by a celebrant at the moment in England, you've still got to go to the registry office, pay 70 quid, sign a bit of paper. You still got to do that.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you decide that you'd like Ed to take you to the top of Haytor on Dartmoor because it's the place where you first met your partner, and
A
you're
stone
gonna have
circle at Glastonbury.
or Stone Circle at Glastonbury, or in your own back garden, you can do that, and it's a beautiful thing. It'll be meaningful to you. It'll be meaningful to the people who are there. They will think that was the real thing. At some
Mm,
point before that or after that, you'll toddle along to the registry office, pay 70 quid, and do a bit of paperwork. But what that
yeah,
means is there's no legal basis at the moment in England to what the celebrants are doing. They're just trying to craft rituals for a society which has forgotten how to have meaningful rituals. You know,
yeah,
and you could, in theory, you could find me on the internet by googling my name with celebrant after it and find my celebrant website. I haven't made it yet. Don't do it just yet. That's one job for the summer. And you could say, listen, you could say me and my partner have been together 10 years and we want to make a little ritual which will celebrate that because it's important to us. And I go, okay, that sounds interesting. Let's do that.
yeah.
Or you could say, so we're leaving our house. We brought up our children in this house and this house means the world for it. And it just seems a bit wrong to be leaving it without doing something. And I go, that sounds like an interesting project. Who shall we invite? What shall we do? What do we have to do to say goodbye to this place? And it doesn't have to be religious if you don't want it to be. Maybe you do.
No.
Maybe that part of your childhood was really important for you, and it seems wrong to have all the people together without mumbling something that sounds like a prayer. It's a really interesting job. We
Yeah.
don't do ceremonies well, and we really don't do death well, and that's really important.
No.
We don't know how to
My
market,
old
and then people go around.
housemaster, my old
Yeah.
housemaster at school and at my boarding
Mm.
school, guy called Charles Cowling, who was fantastic. He got me through my dad's death when I was,
Yes.
at boarding school, and he was an English teacher. and very eccentric, and I'd like to see him. Actually, I haven't seen him for years. He's an interesting guy. But he wrote a book. He left teaching not long after teaching me, actually, I think, and he's probably cracking on a bit now. But he wrote a book called The Good Funeral Guide, because I think it is true. We don't do death very well unless you are very traditional and very immersed in a local church community. Or a local religious community, then I don't think we do it. It's not, and we don't do the bit of life before death very well either, do we? We don't do.
No, we're embarrassed by the whole thing.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's
So
just one of the very few
we've really
things
gone
that's more
off
embarrassing than
piece here.
sex in our culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
Say that bit. Yeah. So anyway,
we've really gone off.
that's what I'm going to do. A bit of that. I'm going to do a bit of this. I'm going to do a bit of the other. And if people have got any ideas of little jobs they would like me to do or ways they can offer me, which will make me some money, I want to hear about it, because I'm prepared to do some supply if I have to, but I'll avoid it if I can. I think I need a little break away from the classroom, a little break away from, education in that form, and then there'll be a general election, and it'll all come right again. It'll be like the old days. There'll be teaching assistant. No, it won't. That's not going to happen.
It won't straight away. It won't. Because I think there's too much other, and this is linked to our word pride, actually. I think if unfortunately, we spoke quite a lot about the pressures on the profession financially and funding on schools and all the striking stuff. We spoke about that at length last week. But I do think that any incoming government, new government, has probably got some, although state education financially and probably conceptually is somewhat broken, it's not as broken as the imbalance in the economy, the gap, the divide between the really super rich and the super poor, is just getting wider and wider and grimmer, and that's probably a bigger issue. And then there's the NHS, of course, and how to make that viable, because it isn't really viable at the moment, is it? And how to get so I suppose I don't think, however visionary, progressive, and good at appeasing the current wave of sort of traditionalism and stuff that's going on in schools. The next education secretary from an alternative government in 2 years' time is, I don't think that's going to be like day one priority, is it?
I don't think it can be. I also think there's not going to be any money. To put right some of the damage to education would cost just the most vast sums. If you think about the great, there was a lot of money went into education when Blair
New
took
Labour,
over.
Absolutely.
Labour. Now, and at that point, the Conservative Party had to fix a massive financial issue, and they'd raised taxes and crucified all the people to try and turn the economy around, and they had done it with some success. They'd run out of steam because we'd all had too much of Thatcher and too much of everybody else, But it did mean there was money to spend. When Blair came in, he went, "Well, come on, here, let's spend some of this," and that makes you popular, So he was,
but then there was a lot of there was a lot of money spent on things that were onerous. What's it? All the APP stuff, all those, that was expensive, wasn't it?
Well, I tell you what. I mean, ask any teacher of our age.
Did that add value?
The 5-day literacy course and the 6-day maths course and the very nice lunches we had at the Hawkswell House Hotel. Money was spent not possibly always wisely, but we had to. You'd have a class. You'd have, sometimes up to 3 teaching assistants working in your class. It's hard to believe now that they are as scarce as unicorn dung. But and it's been a long time coming. And I remember saying, 8 years ago, I remember saying, guys, look, this is happening. You need to get your head around the fact that TAs are going out of fashion. This is being weaponized. No, John Hattie's research, for example, was being weaponized to say, there you go, quality first teaching is what makes a difference. We don't need all these extra humans. We can lay them off. The research shows that the research was used as a as a MacGuffin to make us look the other way, and there it was.
Yeah.
Actually, we were just losing money, and we got to the bottom of that now. And you can't lose a lot more. Anyway, yes, there'll be a general election. We'll have a change of government, but it won't change things overnight. But there might be a sense of hope, At the moment, I don't see that from our Labour Party. I guess are probably the most likely to form the next government. I don't see them saying anything that's aspirational about education. I don't see them challenging the sacred cows of the moment. I think when the changes, it will change quickly. I think, but we shall see. Proud.
So can I say before we? I think after the news, which will come in about 5 or so minutes, I'd like to talk about the sin aspect of pride. But can I just say about the good bit of proud, being proud to be a teacher, being proud of the profession. Can I just say something that I said last week at my leaving party, that I think having been a teacher until I was 41, I did my PGC age 41, started teaching age 42, and I have going to be 51 in August. So I, in my 20s, I never considered teaching as a profession. In my 30s, I became quite interested in schools and education and used to go into them quite a lot as a scientist and stuff. But I probably, because of my slight non-conformity and quite extreme non-conformity inside my head, but outside my head, I'm quite well behaved. I have been, over the years, quite skeptical about not the teaching profession. I've always admired the profession and how hard teachers work, and I've always enjoyed going into schools when I didn't work in one, to kind of do enrichment stuff and careers talks and things. But I have, in the past, and still am, in the present, to some extent, can be a bit cynical, a bit about the rhetoric that we get about the blob and about teachers, and I could kind of, when I first started teaching, I definitely didn't feel like a teacher. I felt more like an industrial scientist who was experimenting with something new. But now that I've done it for 9 years, and I am really excited about the opportunity has been given to me by my new employer come September, I finally, and this probably has happened gradually over the last 9 years, I finally feel like a teacher more than a scientist. I'm a human, obviously, and I'm lots of other things other than being a scientist and a teacher. But I do feel like a teacher. I believe in it. I believe in what we are meant to do and what we try to do. And yes, there's lots of things within the system that perhaps hinder our own personal sense of purpose and stuff. But I'm immensely proud of what I do for children, and yes, I work in a fairly privileged and entitled settings, but I'm very proud of what my colleagues try to do and what my contemporaries in other schools and education establishments do. And I think it's a very honourable profession, and I have never had any interest in sort of business or finance or making money. For the purpose of my work, the purpose of my life is definitely driven by improving people's life chances, enhancing people's education, and making the world a better place, or giving people just helping them to understand themselves better. And I think I'm not motivated by making money. Someone's got to be, I guess, but and that was true as a scientist. And so I feel it's taken me quite a long time to get to that point. And I think that's okay, but I think it can tip over, and we'll talk about the negative side, when you become very, very proud, and think that start to think that we're really, really, really important, and we are really important to the fabric of society as teachers. But are we as important as some of us think we are? I suppose is the negative side. I think how important really is school and is teachers. If the family environment's not great, if the outside of school stuff is not great, then how much difference can we really make? Are we just sort of putting a sticking plaster on the whole thing? And so I think we can sometimes think we're a bit more important and we're a bit more life shaping than we probably are, and that's where pride can be a slightly negative thing. There you go. That's my treatise on it all.
Maybe. I think we can explore that a little bit further. There's some good stuff there. But do you not think at past it might be time for the news?
Yes, it is time for the news. So hold that thought, Lucy, listener, and you can contribute to all that, and Ed, and all the listen backers. I hope you enjoy it, all 200 of you, and you don't switch off in the first 20 minutes. I will. Okay, so here is the news, everyone. There might be some adverts and some tech update associated with it as well. Bye-bye. Back in 8 minutes or so.
It's time for a fresh start to language learning. Pearson EdXL's new student-centred French, German and Spanish 2024 GCSEs cater to the needs of all learners, regardless of their background, ability or reason for studying. Rooted in learned language knowledge, their assessments are transparent and accessible, allowing all students to showcase their language skills. Through inclusive and relatable content, the new Pearson EdXL MFL GCSEs build a shared cultural capital that helps students develop an understanding of and appreciation for the wider world. Find out more at go.pearson.com/MFL GCSE 24.
This programme has been brought to you by the Happy Confident Company. Our clinically approved, ready-to-go wellbeing and mental health programme will help your pupils thrive. In only 10 minutes a day, you'll be able to deliver social and emotional learning and wellbeing tools throughout your school. To find out more, visit us at www.happyconfident.com.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
The Universities and Colleges Employers Association, UCEA, is playing down the impact a marking boycott is having on students. This is the view of the University and College Union, according to a report on the BBC. The UCEA represents 144 institutions and has released a survey which suggests most student graduations are not being affected by the boycott. This is contrary to the UCEA view that this survey accounts for fewer than half of universities. Some students have graduated without their final marks, whilst others have seen graduations delayed. The boycott is part of a long-running dispute over pay and conditions, which has been previously reported on Teachers Talk Radio News. Many students have complained about the lack of communication around the impact of the boycott from their universities, whilst others highlight the fact that it is coming at the end of an already fragmented experience of university brought about by the impact of the pandemic. Whilst the UCEA survey suggests that the impact on students is different in each university, its chief was keen to say it showed that the majority of students were not facing a graduation without their final marks, although Raj Jethwa was quick to point out that this would be little comfort to those who were affected. The industrial action in the higher education sector is just part of a wider action being taken by those in education. But Sky News and other outlets reported that PM Rishi Sunak could be considering a block on recommendations by peer review bodies from across the public sector. The teaching peer review body presented its recommendations to ministers, and it is expected to be published next month. Leaked reports suggest it could be a proposal of 6.5%. Government sources deny the claims made originally in the Times, but stated that pumping money into the economy risks fueling inflation. In an editorial in The Guardian, recruitment and retention problems were highlighted again, with some alarming figures suggesting that 1 in 4 new teachers leave the profession within 3 years. The piece goes on to cite the huge range of issues that schools deal with, including sexual harassment and bullying, as well as home circumstances and their effects. This view was further emphasised this week with a report from The Observer focusing on the stresses being placed on pupil referral units. The units cater for children who have been excluded from mainstream schools. But leaders are now saying they are full to bursting, because of unprecedented levels of behaviour incidents in schools. Data suggests that permanent exclusions are rising after a brief lull on the return to school after the pandemic. The former Children's Commissioner Anne Longfield says in the report that schools are buckling under the pressure of children with complex needs, and cites cuts to public services, leaving a lack of support in its wake. She called the situation a disaster for vulnerable children. A former head teacher of a PRU in Stockton-on-Tees said she had dealt with children spitting, kicking and swearing. Her school had previously tried to take children on short outreach programmes, but now this was impossible due to overload. Finally, the BBC features calls by EastEnders actress Rose Ayling-Ellis for sign language lessons to be made freely available to those who need them, including parents and carers of deaf children. The British Sign Language user says she cannot believe that some parents and guardians of deaf children have to pay for tuition. The cost of an accredited course can be anywhere between £200 and £700. Martin McLean, Senior Policy Advisor at the National Deaf Children's Society, says funding is inconsistent and a postcode lottery, with some local authorities funding it whilst others don't. Spokesmen for leaders across all 4 home nations have made statements in support of improving access to BSL, but only the Welsh Government says it is already included in the curriculum for schools. In 2022, the British Sign Language Bill was passed, recognising BSL as an official language, and the Department for Education in England says it is working towards a BSL GCSE, which should be available from September 2025. A spokesperson for the Scottish Government has said that its teaching council is working with the University of Edinburgh on the development of an undergraduate degree in primary education and BSL. This has been your Teachers Talk Radio News with Joe Fox.
This is 2 Minute Tech with Steve Woods, your tech briefing on Teachers Talk Radio.
Hello, this week I'm going to discuss tech that will help you battle one of the worst things that can possibly happen in school, the summer. Nothing is worse than melting all day while trying to deliver lessons, yet we all have to suffer it. Let's see what tech has to offer you. Through searching the web, I found a few cool gadgets, pun totally intended. Starting with the cheapest, a neck fan. It looks like an 80s pair of headphones around your neck. Rechargeable with different speed settings. It's got some decent reviews and at £14 may be worth a try. Although high settings have more noise, so it might not be great for quiet times. For £20 you can get a personal air cooler. This has a tank of water, so not only fans you, but uses the water to super cool the air. Nice. £29 gets you a waist fan. Clip it onto your belt, or use the belt supplied and it blows up your shirt. Again, rechargeable and you can choose a front or back position. As with the previous though, noise may be a problem. Next, staying with the fan idea, for £79 you can get a cooling vest. This is a vest filled with fans, not unlike those you see on novelty inflatable fancy dress suits. The fans pass cool air over you and you stay cool. Again, noise is a factor here though. If you're willing to splash out for £100, how about a cooling vest with elements instead? Basically, it looks like an FBI bulletproof vest you see on TV, filled with reusable ice packs. It's obviously very quiet, however, will make squeezing through tight spaces a little more difficult. Also, preparation is needed as the packs will need to be frozen overnight. In conclusion, fans are the cheapest way to go, and you look like you're standing in hero wind, but noise is a factor. Vests may keep you cool, but you certainly will not look it. I suppose you could always try sticking an ice pack in a plastic bag and putting it in your pocket. What do you do to stay cool? Let us know at TT Radio Official. I'm Steve Woods. That was 2 Minute Tech.
2 Minute Tech with Steve Woods, your tech briefing on Teachers Talk Radio.
Back in the room. Back in the room.
Back in the room. Back in the room. There suddenly had been a whole lot of chat that I hadn't seen.
That's me and Lucy.
Is that you? Is it you? Are you masquerading as Teacher Stalker?
Teacher Stalker. Teachers Talk Radio, I am. That's who I am. I am the voice of Teachers Talk Radio for 1 hour only.
Yeah. Well, it appears that you've gone through some of the ground we were going to do, and you've done it through the form of chat. Very excited Mike Rosen's here headlining the Hip Yak Poetry Shack at WOMAD. Also, Robin Ince and AC Gold. Did you see Mike Rosen's won the Pen Award? Very pleased with that. That's a good one he deserves, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway,
No,
pride.
so
He was saying that some teachers take pride in their profession too far, and they start to think that they can change the world. And yeah, I think so. So I think one of the most profound things you need as a teacher is a sense of humility, a sense
yes.
of the limits of your influence. You'll be in my classroom for, if you're in a primary school, for about 7 hours a day. Take away lunchtime and breaks, 6ish, and then you'll go home, and that's where as a child that real life happens, don't you? You know that. Mr. Finch does all his lovely stories about how nice it is to be nice, but you also know that what happens at home is the real stuff. I think children get really good at moving between worlds and using different registers, and they they say, oh yes, it's really important to talk about your feelings, but they know at home you don't talk about your feelings. If you talk about your feelings, you get a lump upside your head, So yeah, I think so. Humility is what we need. It's one of the great armory of teachers is a sense of awareness of the limits of your influence.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's did we talk about this before? There's sort of we've spoken about this earlier on in our series of really well researched influence of the seven deadly sins on teachers and teaching. But there's the teachers who perhaps love children too much or love the job too much, maybe. And there's teachers who don't
Quite
love
a
children
lot of people
enough
love the
and
sound of their
don't
own
perhaps
voices
love the
too
job
much.
enough. Sorry.
There's quite a few who love the sound of their own voice too much. You
Oh
occasionally
yes,
get ones
that
who
might be
love
me. It might
authority
be me.
too much. The fact that children will do what they say. There's a lot of motivations for being a teacher that aren't particularly positive, perhaps. We all
Well,
got here one way or another.
I have to say, I do think that there is a teacher type. My niece said to me recently, said, "You don't give me teacher vibes, Toby, Uncle Toby." And I go, "Well, that's because I've done other things, and I can see it from the children's perspective of how a teacher that emits teacher vibes. When you sometimes see it on Twitter, don't you? When people are like they tweet about when they're in the supermarket or a public space, they feel compelled to do their teacher voice or their teacher stare or whatever. I don't feel compelled to do that at all. That's just I'm not going to tut or roll my eyes or give the stare at the I will quietly inside myself think what I think, but I'm not going to. No, I find that weird. But you see, and also. I've got to be careful what I say, I suppose. But I think what I find is that people who have only worked in the teaching profession and have perhaps progressed through the ranks quite quickly and into management and SLT and all that sort of stuff, they get frustrated with the behavior of adults. Because they haven't actually ever worked with adults, because a teaching's quite a solitary profession. We talk about, oh, we're a great team and we're a great team, but really, yes, you have to do if you're in a big department or a multi-form entry primary school where you've got to broadly teach the same stuff to the 3 or 4 classes of children, but you've got to collaborate and sort of collaborate and moderate your approach, I suppose. But really, one of the reasons perhaps a lot of us teach is because we don't really like working with adults, and we don't necessarily know how to work with adults. And I find it, my head, I know in conversations with him, candid conversations with him, so I've just got to he gets annoyed when people don't do as they're told, because, and I go, well, but we're adults and adults are notoriously rebellious. And, when children are really, really compliant. Yes, you've always got 1 or 2 or 3 children in your class who are going to push boundaries and are gonna like be not particularly suited to the classroom environment and the conventions.
If you got a couple of hundred adults running around on a big field, kicking a ball around and having a chat on the logs.
Yeah.
Was to blow a whistle. Would they all immediately freeze?
No,
they wouldn't. And if
no,
I were them to wait until everybody had frozen and then ring a bell, would they all run, not walk, to line up? No, they wouldn't. Impossible. And I think you're exactly right. Yes, you meet people who've gone straight into teaching from higher education and never done anything else. I do think there's an odd vibe about that sometimes. Not always, but sometimes.
Not always, exactly. No, but I think and people start expecting, just like the bad teacher expects children to behave and think like an adult sometimes, the bad manager of teachers expects adults to behave and conform and just follow instructions and not really. It's funny. I think we speak. This has been spoken about in the on Twitter recently. I haven't really paid it much attention, but about this neurodivergence. We're all over that as a profession. If children are neurodivergent in some way, then we are. But Alex has been writing about this. Alex, lovely at Curtain Sleep or whatever he calls himself these days. About if you're neurodivergent as a teacher, a bit ADHD or a bit ADD or a bit ASD or whatever, your SLT is probably not very forgiving of that, and probably not very. We are expected to be in our box and to be quite good at all the teaching standards and not to have we're supposed to have our rough edges smoothed off, and I think that's a mistake. I think that's one of the hardest things about joining the teaching profession is how intolerant it is of varied modes of thought, diversity of thought, as opposed to diversity of gender.
Well, I think you're probably
race,
right. Yeah,
whatever.
So anyway, why is pride a sin then? Because you think being proud of stuff is good. I'm proud of, like, my kid finished their GCSEs and just handled it with grace and beauty and appears to have really represented themselves really well. Immensely proud. Surely that's not a sin. And we, this time of year we're in Pride Month. We're in June, and I've been to a couple of Prides this month, and I will try and squeeze in another one if I can. And London Pride this coming weekend. So shout out to anybody going to London
Nice
Pride.
beer, that.
Is pride a sin? No, of course it's not. Of course, being proud of yourself. So I kind of do want to, you go, right, you know what? You need a bit of lust, otherwise you don't get any more humans, do you? You need a bit of pride, otherwise.
I think though there is that, but it's really important to be proud of, if you're not proud of yourself or making yourself proud of yourself, then you've got low self-esteem and aren't really, and if you have low self-esteem, that's not a good place to be.
More of a sin in today's world, isn't it? Hey, in today's world, it's more of a sin.
But I think but the pride
something slightly different. Yeah,
but pride and being proud, the sinful aspect of pride is when someone is so, and I'm not really going to apply this to teaching, but it's when someone is so proud of themselves that they're sort of arrogant and inflexible. Does that make sense? That is that pride. That is an unattractive human quality. I don't really have a view on sin, to be honest. It's all a bit, good and evil, and I'm not really into all that.
Come on, have an opinion.
No, I don't really. But I just think that pride can be ugly. I can't think of it ugly in the teaching profession particularly, but pride. Well, my mum's pretty proud. Pride. She's just got pride. She. It's a sort of snobbery. It's a sort of. It's a sort of.
From doing things which would allow her to have actually a healthier and happier life. Yes,
exactly. It's a healthy. It's a really high expectation of how the world should be, and you're constantly a bit disappointed.
There's that thing, isn't there? I'm going to take the name of a school in vain, and I hope I don't get taken out for school shaming. But when you look at Michaela's school, the people were very proud of that. Now I'm proud of my school. I'm proud of it lots of ways. But I'm not proud of it in a way which makes me think it's better than the other schools. I don't set myself apart and say we are No, and I think it's actually. I think the word pride is meaning different things. Actually, I think it's like how the Greeks have several different words for love, and how eros is very different from agape and things. No, pride. I love this thing. These people. I'm proud of what we do. I think I can be proud in lots of ways without setting myself up higher. I think if you were to go back to the Bible and say why is sin of pride, I think they would say it's because it's when you don't recognize the part that God played in your success, or what do we have that we are not given, I think is a verse from the Bible. So I think that's what it is. And I think in our profession, if you go, I love our school, brilliant, I'm really proud of you, I'm really proud of this class, they've worked so hard, they've done an amazing job, I'm really proud of them. Yes, they're better than the other classes. No.
Yeah, that's that. Yes,
I'm
exactly.
really proud of the work that we put into our GCSEs this year. Yeah, of course you are. Brilliant. The children worked out their skins, and I'm really proud of them. Yes, of course. Not like that school down the road. Oi, no, stop it. You don't know.
Yeah. Lucy's written that difference between pride and boasting.
Do that in our classrooms, perhaps. I'm really proud of my kids. They have done such a great job this week, and not like those tykes in 7B. You don't know what's going in 7B. You don't know why that's happening. You don't. You can be proud of your of the children, or proud of the work that you've been doing, but you don't know how hard someone else is working, or what the undercurrents in their classroom are. So I guess that's when it's a sin,
Exactly.
It's like when you set yourself up as better or higher, and you do get that on this platform, don't you? And
you do.
You certainly do. Yeah.
And you get people who pride is that they can't back down. So they're very proud of their argument. They're very proud of their reasoning. They're very proud of. They've a lot of self-belief, but they can't see that maybe in an argument, in a discussion, it's pride is quite a difficult thing to penetrate, isn't it?
Of course, I think all of us know really that the people who present that loudest are often coming from a place of insecurity, and that's why they're doing
absolutely.
it.
Oh, it's deep insecurity driven, probably. Yes, absolutely. It's a front, isn't it? It's a front that's
maybe these people
security
just
blanket.
Need our love. Maybe they just need our love and our understanding, and then they'll calm down a bit. They don't need to show us the 3 best bits of writing that their kids have done this week and hide the rest.
Yeah, there's a nice little chat going on the chat between Lucy and Paul. What's it?
Are they just having their own show now? Is that
no, it's related to picking up on what we've been saying. So talking about me and the teacher voice, or the teacher stare, or the patronising talk, or so. If Paul says, if I show any signs of teacher voice, patronising talk, or instructing at home, the wife very quickly gives me her own version of a teacher stare. He says it doesn't happen very much.
I'm mortified, Douglas, if I behave like a teacher in a supermarket. But by which he just means if I'm vaguely friendly to people, like if I chat to the next person in the queue, or make a funny face at a child and see if I can make them smile. He's like, you can't do that. They don't know you're a teacher. I'm like, mate, I was embarrassing people in supermarkets long before I was a teacher.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, yeah, that's good. When I went to Black Deer Festival on the Friday night with a colleague and her fiance, and they gave me a lift, and I was drinking quite a lot, but I was just mingling and starting chatting to strangers around us, and she was quite astonished. She said, "You just talk to random people." And I go, well, yeah. I'm at these sort of events quite often I'm at these sort of events on my own. So it's just like-minded people watching like-minded bands. I'm going to mingle. I'm going to find my people for that moment. I'm probably never see them again.
I think it's generally welcomed, isn't it? I think. Generally.
Yeah. Right. We're getting near song time, Ed.
Near song time. Well, unusually for me, I've got one lined up for you. So
we're getting quite near song time.
Quite there.
Have you said? I think we've had I feel I've spoken quite a lot. I'm sorry, Ed.
You have, yeah. No, it was very much a pain book dominated week, but we have those. That's all right.
Then we had. I think one was that we had a week on one of the sins, which was definitely a Finch dominated one. I think last week I gave you quite a lot.
It's okay. It's okay. Equality and equity are not the same, are they?
This is your favourite assembly. Yeah.
It is my favourite assembly, all right. Gosh, you got a good memory.
Yeah.
I won't do it now.
We've got
That's
to
going to be
talk
the
about our
terrible thing
greatest
about
hits.
not being a teacher anymore, is I won't get to do all those assemblies. I shall have to bore people rigid at funerals instead.
Dialassembly.com it's hard doing a good assembly weekly or twice weekly, isn't it? But occasionally
4 times a week, mate. 4 a week. 4 I do.
4.
I do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday's easy, it's certificates. The other ones struggle to fill sometimes, let's be honest.
Yeah,
But
exactly. It's yeah, anyway, go on then. What song have you got for us, Ed?
well, you wanted Pride, and you did originally ask for Pride in the Name of Love by the U2, but I had a feeling that it wouldn't suit me, so
I don't think it would suit you. I
something
don't.
else.
It's a sort of jangly, edgy guitar riff repeated. It's not going to be interesting acoustically, I don't think.
It's not, no. Whereas this is going to be beautiful. Are you ready?
Yeah,
Are we
I'm
really?
gonna
Is it that time? It's 55. We'll have time for a quick chat after the song, maybe.
Yeah, I am ready. I'm looking forward to this.
Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day, and I never lost 1 minute of sleeping, worrying about the way things might have been. Big wheel keep on turning, proud Mary keep on burning, rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. I cleaned a lot of plates in Memphis, pumped a lot of pain down in New Orleans, but I never saw the good side of the city till I hitched a ride on a riverboat queen. Big wheel keep on turning, proud Mary keep on burning, rolling,
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 rolling on the river,
rolling on the river.
Do you want to do the last verse? I can't want to do the
Yeah.
last verse. If you come down to the river, I bet you're gonna find some people who live. You don't have to worry, 'cause you got no money. People on the river are happy to give. Big wheel keep on turning,
Burning,
proud Mary keep on burning,
burning,
rolling,
yeah,
rolling,
yeah.
rolling on the river.
Right now. Well, that was a double whammy, wasn't it? Not only Proud Mary linked to Pride, but a bit of a tribute to Tina.
Tina. Lovely Tina. Although I have to say, I think of it as a Creedence song myself, and then I'm like, no, it's Tina. It's
Tina and Ike back in the day. Yeah. She could move, couldn't she? Tina Turner. She could
had
move.
distinctive moves as well. She didn't just move. When she moved, she looked like Tina Turner. And I can't do it. Can you do that special Tina move? Can you make your knees do that? I can't make my knees do that.
I don't think I can. But did she do a song with Jagger, and she's way cooler than Jagger.
She's
but
a great deal cooler.
The
makes
two
him
of
look
them
so uncool, you know?
Yeah, she made Jagger look uncool, exactly, which is good.
Which he is uncool. He is uncool.
He is uncool. Jagger's uncool. He was cool for probably about a year or two in the late 60s. I think he was probably pretty cool. But he's not cool anymore. Keith, however, still cool in the way that Slash is still cool. But I wasn't into Guns N' Roses at Glastonbury, really. I don't think they're a band fulfilling a 25 song repertoire. I think they've got 3 or 4 songs that we needed to hear 3 or 4 times. That's my view on Guns N' Roses.
I mean, clearly you're not a fan. That's okay. I just don't really think they're a Glastonbury band. I'm not sure they ever were. Glastonbury was never a Reading, was it? So you know, I don't know. I didn't feel that I belonged. I didn't watch the show, and I won't join in
No,
on.
I switched off and then watched the end of it on highlights.
Yeah, I'm not really sure that you know. There's other festivals where I might think that Guns N' Roses thing. Glastonbury obviously is branched out and has all genres.
Very diverse, isn't it? Now it's massive. Cat Stevens was better, says Paul. I didn't watch much of Youssef actually, but yeah, I did see a bit of him. Nice.
And didn't he come across as a lovely chap? I didn't see the show, but like he did some sort of rather sweet pre-show interviews and soundy things, and I thought, oh, he kind of seemed to come at it with a sense of amusement and humility, which I rather liked.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Pretenders, who I saw at Black Deer, they were great. They brought Dave Grohl on drums to play "Tattooed Love Boys" from their debut album, which was quite punky.
With every single band over the weekend.
Dave Grohl was on 3 stages simultaneously at one point, I think.
He had the time of his life.
Absolutely.
Happy Dave.
Yeah. Right, that's it, people. What we've got left to do, Ed?
What are we doing next week? What's the sin?
Well, we've decided, haven't we? I've decided that we're not going to do jealousy because we sort of merged that with envy, and I think we'll leave it alone, really. So we've got lust and jealousy, which we're binning, and greed left. Lust and greed. Well, we could do greed next week, lust the following week, and then leave our final valedictory show on the Wednesday for a question of Toby and Ed. It could be like
I have to say, I'm just going to say this now. It's just because just occurred to me that I have got the school production next week. Yeah, I don't know what good time I'm going to get home. That'll be interesting. Maybe I'll dial into the show as I drive.
We can have a week off next week and then come back for 2 weeks because I'm on a holiday for 2 weeks. You're still at school. But I think I can do the 12th and the 19th of July. I am around, I think. There's no reason why I can't do them.
Maybe
I think we could do Lust and Greed in 1 week. I think we can do Lust and Greed in 1 week, to be honest.
Lust and Greed. I'm very greedy in my lust. I
think it's quite hard related to teaching to pad out lust for a whole show. I mean, it's going to be hard to do that without being filthy and inappropriate and losing my new job.
Right. Well, I don't want you to lose your new job.
I'm just thinking out loud.
Okay. Well, we will continue this conversation offline. We are over our time. So, ladies and gentlemen, when I say ladies and gentlemen, I think I mostly mean Paul and Lucy. Thank you for being company. I saw Maxim popped in.
Maxim came in, and I know that people will listen back. So thank you. So we may or may not be back next week. We'll clarify that, but we'll definitely be back for the 2 weeks after that.
Happy days. Good night, everybody. Sleep well. Have a
Take
wonderful evening, and be well rested for what will be another hideous morning. Night.
Night. Bye.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.